Hello, everybody. Okay, so this is, I'll just give everyone a chance to get their notifications, come in live. This is the second session that I'm offering for free, and it's focusing really on the family matrix. So just as a reminder, this will be any family members that you live with, which includes humans and non-humans. So any of your animal family friends are also involved in this, especially dogs, cats, super sensitive to anything going on with the family matrix, good, bad, or otherwise, and any shifts in dynamics that happen. So it's really crucial that we always include them in on any kind of process that we're wanting to look at or change within the family matrix. As you're coming in, please say hi. Please let me know who I've got online with me. And if you want to let me know where you're signing in from, where you're watching from, then please do that as well. Now, I'm just going to cover a couple of things before we start. I'm not going over, again, the reason why we're doing this. I explained that in the first session. It's not too late to watch the first session. And it is going to be beneficial to you if you watch the first one, then you come watch the second one. But if you find yourself here first, for whatever reason, watching the second one and you haven't caught the first session first, don't stop, keep watching this. But just as a reminder to yourself, go watch that first one, because it is part of the whole process that you're going to need, is my feeling on things, and that will help you enormously as we go throughout this time. I received a lot of emails and private messages after the last session, mostly people just kind of saying, thank you. So much of what came up as a priority was really hitting the nail on the head for me. It made so much sense. So much of what you described or talked about that seems to be affecting people or the family matrix as a whole is what I've been noticing has been going on within me. So lots and lots of things like that. Lots of people sharing their own situations and things that are going on inside their family matrix, and also more personally for them. And it really just shows me how similar of a journey so many of us are actually going through individually and in our family matrices, that when you're going through that, it seems so isolating sometimes, and that you're not the only one going through it, but it often can feel like, oh, I'm going through it. I'm going through it. This is me. This is my experience. I'm going through it. And what I've seen from all this correspondence is that so many of you are going through such very, very similar things at exactly the same time. And it really shows that kind of interconnectedness that we all have. And I think it's important from time to time, instead of feeling isolated and separate from and lost, is that you remember that you actually belong to a global family, if not my global community family now, and that we are all very much going through very similar trials and tribulations, but it's going to come up a little bit differently for everybody because everyone's unique and we all have our different life stories. So a lot of people were talking about how they noticed that they felt tension leaving the family. They also felt tension leaving their body. We had people coming into the session that were noticing that they had pain in different parts of their body, restriction in different parts of their body, and then after the session they woke up the next day and the pain and restriction was gone. So that's cool. We don't know how these sessions are actually going to show up for you, how they're going to affect you, how they're going to shift and release things in the family. That's why it's such not only an important thing, but it can be really quite fun just to watch the entire process afterwards with soft eyes, just as an observation, you're observing things and see what you notice changes. I know it's very easy for the left brain to get caught up in that and go, well, did that change because of the session, or was that something else? Try not to do that. Just notice it as a change. Be really gentle with yourself throughout the whole process, and we'll go from there. Hey, Stephanie, how are you? From Canada. Wonderful. So glad you could join me, and hopefully this time works better. Now, I actually have had a super busy week just doing sessions back to back, and I had planned to send out reminders to everyone just to let you know that we were doing this session this time. I didn't get the chance to do that. That's just the way life goes. And so the beautiful thing about this is that if you get to join me live, that's brilliant. But the recording's here, so you can do it at any time you like. And if you have questions, pop it into the comments. If you have any comments or anything that comes up for you personally, please feel free to share it in there as well. All right. So last session, I'm not necessarily going to recap what came up in last session, because I have a philosophy that once we're done with something, we're done. I put it to the side, and now we're coming into this clean, new, open space, and we're ready to address what everyone's collective innate wisdom brings to the table that needs to be addressed for some reason. So we're looking at everything with fresh eyes. It's not good to keep dragging things up from the past, especially in last sessions. So let's not do that at all. We had homework that came up. I'm just going to read off my other screen. So one of the things, and this is, I'm bringing this up just as a reminder, so that if for whatever reason life's been a bit busy and you haven't had a chance to do this, then I would highly recommend that you do it. I actually don't like the term homework. If you can think of a better word for me, then I would really love that, because I've been looking for a different word for the last couple of years. But homework is basically when your collective innate wisdom brings something up and says, hey, if you could suggest that we do this over the course of whatever time it is really going to benefit us. It is going to help this session and everything involved in this session to maximize its potential and to run through as best as it possibly can. So believe me, I do not go looking for homework. I do not do that. So this is the homework that came up. Oh, and as an offside, just to tell you what happened with my experience, we did the session, what was last Friday for me, no, the Friday before. And for that weekend, I actually had intentions of going to the beach because it's summer here. So I was going to go to the beach, chill out, read a book. Well, I woke up on the Saturday morning and all I could think about was cleaning out the linen cupboard. And so I entered into a little bit of a battle in my mind, and part of my mind was like, I'm going to the beach. I said, I'm going to the beach, I'm going to the beach. And then there was this little whisper that just kept coming up and said, no, you really need to organise the linen cupboard. And so not only did I end up pulling every bit of linen out of the house and organising it and offloading what I really don't need anymore, so it didn't feel in alignment with me, but I ended up doing drawers and cupboards in my room and a few other things as well. And I realised as I was going through that process, this is actually one of the aspects that came up during the session, was that the energy and the matrix that we were addressing at that time, one of the things that it was really good at doing was causing chaos and disruption and this messy energy. And it was important for us to focus on and try and create the opposite of those agendas that it was trying to create within us and then within our family matrix. So, of course, the opposite of that chaotic, kind of messy, gluggy energy would be organisation and sorting out, clearing out, creating fresh new spaces, those kinds of things. So it was so interesting to me, despite my resistance, how how intense this need was to clean out spaces, get rid of what I don't need, reorganize them and put them back in. It felt really, really, really good. So I didn't get to the beach. But I did complete my homework after the session. Another piece of that was to find ways to step into your personal power. Now, I received emails from people that kind of, explained how they were doing that, but also that they found it easy to be able to do that because they felt their personal power. And some of them said that, they hadn't felt that personal power that naturally resides within each of us for a long, long time. So that was a really nice experience for them. And also personal truths, tapping into that. And creating the opposite of what the matrix was trying to achieve, which I just spoke about. So from chaos, we would be creating systems, plans, organisation, cleaning out, so on and so forth. That's where it really came out. For me, this disruptive energy that it was creating, we would be looking then to create calm, organisation again, peace within ourselves, but also how do we bring peace into our lives? How do we bring peace into the environment? And there's so many different ways that you can do that. It's about feeling into it and feeling what's right for you. The ability to be able to listen quietly, not with a lot of noise, not with a noisy mind, but just listening quietly. So that would move from disruptive into the opposite of that. There was a lot of anger that was in that matrix as well. So moving out of anger and into what came up for that session. I know there's a lot of different variations of what would be the opposite to anger, but what came up was honest, clear communication. Honest, clear communication, really is quite a heart-based expression. So no room for anger in that. It just is more heart resonance. It's based around love and harmony and peace and surrender. There's another word that comes up. And then there was quite a lot of fear. So this matrix was responsible for inciting fear, generating it, circulating it, and for everyone to be experiencing it in some way, shape or form, and for it to really sit in the nervous system quite heavy. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to address that. And I know for some of you, it's still in the process of working through. My feeling on things is that it is very important to do this homework. So if you haven't done that, then you might be noticing some resistance to some of these things still being there, or it means that there are other layers for you to be able to address. And in which case you can do that through body talk. It's just finding the practitioner that you want to work with, right? And then so the opposite to fear that was coming up was peace, trust, faith, gratitude, optimism. The only other thing that we needed to do was tap out the cortices technique about 48 hours after you watch the first session. That still applies. So it doesn't matter whether somebody watches the first session in January of 2022, you would still tap out your cortices 48 hours later. It still applies. It activates within the person and then runs at that time. All right. So let's get into our session and see what the priorities are that we're doing today. Because obviously this follow-up session has come up for a reason. All right. I'm going to get you to focus on taking a couple of nice, big, deep breaths in and out. I'm going to focus on popping myself into my Mindscape workshop. We actually call in the consciousness of the family matrix that we're working with. So that'll be all of your family matrices combined comes in. The first thing that comes up for me that we're looking at is what the experience is like after trauma. So quite often it can be a bit of a struggle. It can be disorientating. It can be a bit confusing after going through traumatic situation or event going through, even intensely stressful period, sometimes, happens a lot of the time actually, it can be hard after that space to find a way to be able to become grounded again, where you feel like you're anchored solidly in your body, to your space that you live in, to the people around you, to the work that you do, to the community that you live in, if you have a decent connection to the community. So it's really looking at, you know, trauma or very high intensity stress situations or periods of time as almost like a stormy time. And after that's gone, after it's been perhaps addressed, how do you come back to center? How do you come back in and anchor in? Because quite often it's been such a wobbly period of time. It can be real disorientating and cause a bit of lightheadedness, confusion. We're just trying to figure out, how do I reframe again? So this is the first thing that's coming up as a priority. This is what innate says, like, right, so we've addressed that matrix that came up as a priority, the invasive matrix. And it caused a lot of disruption. Some of it we're aware of, a lot of it we're actually very, very unaware of what it was trying to do and the damage that it was able to cause. So now we're in this position of, we are out the other side of that, but it can still feel a bit wobbly, a bit disorientating, a bit uneven. So we're now looking at that process. What do we need to do? So we're going to be starting off by looking at the endocrine system. So we're looking at all hormones, hormone glands, all hormone tissue that exists outside glands. We're looking at the hormones themselves. Doesn't matter whether we're looking at hormones that are made inside an area, whether it's hormones that are being distributed and sent throughout the systems, or whether it's the hormones that get received and then used at different areas. We're looking at that whole process. And what we're looking at is how, you know, this is said so flippantly, but I really don't think as human beings we really, really understand the gravity of what this means. Otherwise, you would make changes straight away. Stress is just catastrophic to the hormonal system. It really, really is. It not only disrupts the entire endocrine system in that moment and prevents all these amazing hormonal glands from being able to express themselves as they normally are meant to, or for the right amounts of hormones to be able to be sent in this moment in time when they're meant to be sent, let alone that then those hormones get to travel the entire distance where they're meant to go, to be received where they're meant to be received, so that they can be used then in very positive, productive ways. But when there is trauma or stress happening, there is so many breakdowns in that process that happens, it would blow your mind. So the innate wisdom is looking at the devastation that was caused to the endocrine system. The endocrine system also has a very large amount to do with the hormonal system. Not with the immune system, with the function of the head brain, with thoughts and emotions and emotional stability, the formation of emotional neuropeptides. There's just so much. I mean, I could sit here and talk for weeks and weeks and we still wouldn't get through all of these really crucial processes that are meant to be happening within you. So We're looking at really trying to help and support the entire endocrine system to, it's like a rehabilitation program, really, to come in and not only look at each individual's hormonal system within the family. There will be a certain amount that we get to do with that. But remember, we're addressing this in respect to that matrix we addressed and the trauma that was involved in where did that matrix come from, who designed it, why was it designed, is it connected to anything else that's been going on. Remember, it wasn't a priority to go looking for all that information. So there's more to that than kind of meets the eye. We're dealing with this from that perspective. So what I can see straight away is that we most definitely have members of our community that will be receiving this session that have other hormonal imbalances going on. Are we going to be able to address all those? No, we're not. We're just not going to be able to, not in one session. So this is specifically looking at the endocrine system in relation to something very specific. So this is in everyone individually in relation to what I just spoke about. Then what happens is hormones communicate with all other hormones, not just within our own body-mind complex, but when you're coexisting in a household with other family members, you got hormones speaking to other hormones throughout the family matrix as well. And so there's a second part to this hormone balancing that we're going to be doing where we come and look at it from the family matrix perspective. We look at the energy of the family matrix. And if we had everyone's hormonal systems and its signature in there combined as one whole, we now need to do a rehab on that. And this is about really trying to regulate and harmonize what would be the endocrine system for the family matrix. And this will it'll less speak to addressing it at a physical level for the family matrix, because we really are talking more about energetics and dynamics here. But it will be more speaking to the fact that hormones have such a large amount to do with emotions and feelings and thoughts. So keeping in mind, this is innate, really trying to look at harmonizing and bringing some softness into those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings by working directly with the endocrine system for the family matrix. So there's a few different aspects here that we're addressing. There's no further details to that. We are going to link then from the endocrine system when we're coming to looking at organs. And it's going to be the heart. This is about reorientating the heart back to self. So back to the individual. You know, there's a phrase that is coming up for me. You may not have heard it or used it in your time, but some people often say, you just focus on you. You do you. You worry about you. You look after you. And what that means is that there's so much focus out here, or there's concern about what's going on out here, or you're entangled with something out over there, or somebody else's drama that isn't in your best interest. Whether you're consciously aware of it's happened or not, and you've gone into that space. So that phrase really talks about reorientating back into heart center, back into this heart energy, and ultimately back into yourself, where you go, yeah, okay, me, what do I need to do? What's important for me to focus on? What are my priorities? What's going on within me that I need to focus on? So we're going to be linking the heart to self. This will be for you, for every individual member of the family. And this brings up something interesting, right? So you're going to have to be mindful of, yes, this means that this is me coming back and being aware of and focusing on me. But that also means that you've got kids and potential partners then, or mums and dads, or whoever it is, that will needing to be go through the same process. So me orientating back to me, right? So if you notice that someone is going inwards and they're focusing on themselves, you can't go, well, you're being selfish, you're just focusing on yourself, because that's what they're meant to be doing. This is that reorientation back to self. So don't be surprised if you yourself or members of the family start focusing on themselves or going a little bit more inwards. That actually is what is meant to be happening right now. You'll feel it. People might be, get a little bit, distracted is not the right word, but sometimes it can really, it takes somebody so inwards that you can get lost in your imagination and lost in the present moment, and you'll be thinking about things. And quite often somebody will be in the same room with you and they'll say, have you been listening to me? I've been talking to you and you haven't been listening to me. That would be that process of the heart is reorientating it back to self. And so that's that person just going back to self. There is a difference between that process happening and someone being really lacking boundaries and just hyper-focused on themselves and their own needs. There is a difference between that. So being able to distinguish between both is both going to be something that you draw on from experience, and you also trust your intuition and your gut instincts on, okay? All right. But it is very important to disconnect from the drama, disconnect from the stories, disconnect from what's going on out there, and feed this vessel, look after this vessel, okay? And if you've got that kind of very gently flowing through to each member of the family in some way, shape or form, and remember, people don't necessarily have to even be aware of this particular piece that comes up in a session for this to take place within them, then that is going to create more harmony in general throughout the family matrix, which is opposite to what that matrix was trying to achieve, right? It was trying to create separation and disassociation and crisis in between the family matrix. And it's also very important to try and not judge what somebody's return journey back to themselves is meant to look like. Because as humans, we can very much be black and white in framing something as being a good or a bad process. Or that's right, that's wrong. It just is what it is, that return journey to self. It'll be what it's meant to be for everyone. All right, no further details to that we need to do. That's our first formula that we've got. We're going to take that and pop that to the side. We have another parallel formula to do. I get really itchy when I do body talk sessions, so you will see me scratching. This next formula is actually presenting. It's a little bit kind of ambiguous, so I'm just trying to dissect it a little bit and sort out what this is. There's this concept I'm sure you've heard of. Some of you are probably quite proficient in it, but it's this concept of grounding energy, actually just looking at this grounding energy as though it is an energy source. And I guess I'm given the analogy that just as if you had in the house the wiring, the energy that runs through the house, if for some reason a piece of that wiring becomes frayed or completely severed, then you haven't got that energy that's able to travel along the pathway that it's meant to. And that's what we're focusing on here is, again, it'll be for individuals, but it's also for the family matrix as a whole, as we're focusing on grounding energy. And it is a very specific energy that is different to chakra energy or any kind of meridian energy or prana energy or anything like that. It is grounding energy. It's the same grounded energy that we're going to use the Earth's energy, the Earth's biofield, which I think from memory kind of resonates at about 5 hertz. So we're going to be using this 5 hertz frequency as a way to be able to repair the grounded energies within the body-mind complex and within the family matrix. And then we're going to be linking that same grounded energy actually to the earth. And I know for some people it's going to seem a bit, you know, kind of airy-fairy and woohoo and stuff like that. But again, it goes into those concepts of we're really just addressing something that our normal sense of sight can't see. Well, we can't see air, but we believe and we know it's there, right? So there is this grounded energy, and there's so many different ways that we even know that it's there and exists. If you think about all the times that you've ever maybe gone and laid on the beach or laid on the grass underneath a tree or something, or been out in nature walking on the earth, how grounded that makes you feel, how solid it makes you feel, how anchored it makes you feel, how more peaceful and softer it makes you feel. That is in large contributed by that grounded energy. So there are so many different resources and sources of information where you can actually find out more and study that grounded energy. And it would be well worth your time to poke your head in and find out more about it, because it is a phenomenal way at being able to reduce inflammation in the body. It's a wonderful way at being able to rid the body of free radicals, calms the mind, regulates hormones, so on and so forth. And remember when we started this session, Annette was talking about how when you've been through prolonged stress or trauma, that there can be this real struggle because it's been so chaotic and so fragmenting to find ways to come and ground yourself. I've had clients where 6 months later, 18 months later, they've come in for sessions saying, I just still don't feel good, even though this happened 18 months ago. I don't know what to do. And that's always a component of that healing process for them, is this grounded energy. So the body has it, and the earth has it, animals have it, plants have it, minerals have it as well. But sometimes it just, in lots of different ways and for lots of different reasons, becomes unworkable, and it just doesn't function properly within the body-mind complex. And this will be one of the ways that the innate wisdom chooses to run about a repair process for this, is by connecting these grounded energies within the body to the grounded energies of the earth. It's just one of many, many, many ways that innate can choose to do that. That's how we're doing it today. And in fact, that's going to come up as homework after this session, is to find ways. And I know for some of you, you're currently going through winter where you're probably in like lots and lots of snow, but finding ways that you can connect with this grounded energy. I just write it down so I don't lose it. If any of you have grounding mats, that would suffice. That would really, really work. See if, I actually haven't even looked this up, but see if on YouTube or any other of the platforms if there's any grounded frequencies, because there's so many different frequencies that are recorded and then put on YouTube for you to be able to gain access to. That would be one of them, and it might even be a range of frequencies. If you, better still, if you have access to get outside, even if you are somewhere where it's snowing right now, if you can get outside and just connect for a few moments, it will definitely help you. For those people that are pretty good with your imagination, or if you've got access to Mindscape, go into that space, go into your imagination and imagine yourself connected with the earth, with that grounded energy. You have to watch it in your mind's eye, those grounded energies connecting, that they go through repair, that it becomes really strong, like whatever feels like is appropriate for you, do that. And absolutely, if you have Mindscape, as you've trained in that and you've got that as a tool, please, please, please use that. All right, no further details to that, no further links. Let's go ahead. We'll pop that to the side. We have one last formula that we need to do. Let's see what it is. You know, an important part of your immune system is your microbes. They're critically important to you being alive, to you being healthy, for your brain function, so much. And so what we're focusing on is we're doing a specific technique just called a body chemistry technique. This is specifically aimed at a particular part of the human microbiome. And it's interesting, it's not just the human microbiome, it will be your environmental microbiome. So where you live in your house, there would be microbes in that environment that are unique to you and your family. Every family has its own unique microbiome signature. And we are looking at working with bacteria. And this is about supporting bacteria, because when the bacteria are supported with the immune system, working with the immune system, when we understand the importance of microbes, let alone the importance of bacteria, when we can do things that help support them rather than trying to annihilate them, then that's when they really, really start to work in our favor, in benefit for us in very, very powerful ways. So it's not just physical or health resilience that a person gets, but resilience in your mind, resilience spiritually, resilience in your personality, resilience in your personal power, in your personal truth, in your healthy boundaries. Like, it just speaks a lot to very strong strength, you know, resilience. And that's what this is all about. This is quite nice. So keeping in mind where I first started with this is that this is about, primarily, the nuts and bolts of it is about supporting the bacteria of the microbiome internally, externally around the body, externally in the environment. Will also include any animal family members as well, in protecting, in being part of the solution, in having healthy defenses, healthy boundaries. And when that resilience is really strong and it's really robust, it very much acts like an additional level of protection that you need. And then what I can see coming up as a priority is that original invasive matrix that we addressed. As that matrix is out scanning for family matrices that it can attach onto or infiltrate, it's so likely to come past you and your family matrix and just register the sheer level of resilience that comes from all these different aspects working so well together that it doesn't even try. It just moves on. It's just trying to find the weak link, tries to find any weak link. So yeah, body chemistry to all bacteria and charging the bacteria, entrusting it to be a big part of the solution in staying safe, staying protective, staying healthy, helping the immune system to be the best that it can be so that they can work together. You know, majority of us, and I say us, I mean, you know, humans, humanity, have been very misinformed about microbes and the human microbiome, catastrophically misinformed. And there are a very small number of microbes that are pathogenic, really, really bad. Majority, super great. They keep us alive. They keep our environments healthy. And this is just focusing on the bacterias that do a great job. And keep this in mind too, and Nate's just finishing this off, is that there are absolutely going to be some bacterias that are in the environment on different surfaces, inside different surfaces, that are perfectly suited to being right there where they are. But if they were to come into the body, they're not such a great bacteria. But that's where there's so many different aspects of our bodies, different films, different systems, that by nature, that's what they do. They keep those out there. They keep the ones that we're meant to have in here. So it's quite a beautiful system where the bacteria know the different communities and environments they're meant to live in. And because it's in their best interest for survival to live in the environments where they're designed to live, they are more interested in staying there than going to an environment that would be hostile, that other microbes or immune system aspects would try and chase them out. So this is a really, really good formula. I like this a lot. There's no further details around that. So let's gather together everything that we've done so far. And we're going to take some nice big deep breaths in and out. We're going to go ahead and tap this in, okay? And as we're tapping this in, what I'd really like you just to focus on is that grounded energy. So we're making sure we connect with both hemispheres of the brain, the head brain, when you tap this in. You're making sure that you're connecting with the heart brain, which is just left of your sternum. And we're alternating our hands so that you're also tapping lightly over the gut brain, which is just above the belly button area. One more nice big deep breath. Okay, rest and relax. Right, so there's nothing else around that we need to do today. There's no other further body talk or anything else that we need to do. We've fulfilled all of our priorities. Everyone's officially full to the brim. The homework that came up from this session was to figure out how you can connect with and focus on grounded energy, to bring that not only into your body, but the benefit of that is that it will bring it into the environment. I just want to check and see if there's another priority for potentially another follow-up session for this. Yeah, there is going to be another follow-up session. It's not going to be in a short space of time, though, so we are going to leave this for a significant time. And so it's going to be 6 weeks. I'm just going to do a really quick jump in right now and let you know when 6 weeks would be, because if I don't stick it into my calendar, it's not going to go in. Will be in March. So it's going to be Friday the 5th from what I can see. Let me just double check that. No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay, so I'm actually going to do the same time as what we did today, because that seems to work well for a lot of people. and I'll get my helper actually to send some reminders out probably the week before, just to give you a bit of a heads up. We're going to do it in exactly the same fashion as we did today, so I'll live stream it in. And please, please, please remember that if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything like that, then to pop it into the comments. If you want to join me more socially, hang out, joining conversations about other concepts, learn a bit more about things as we go along, then my suggestion for that would be to jump onto my website and create yourself an account on there. It's free, doesn't require you to pay anything or commit to anything at all. But I've set up some groups on there, which are social media groups. And that's why I'm going to be sharing a lot of my content in moving forward, just simply because I don't really resonate and agree with a lot of the new terms of service that Mark Zuckerberg's bringing out for his platforms. So I'm definitely going to be sharing more content that way, more ideas, handing out more resources through there. Yeah, and if you've got any questions about that at all, if you hit any little roadblocks, can't figure out how to do it, then by all means pop it into the comments here or send through an email to the office, info@JacquieMcIntyre.com, and we'll be sure to help you out. Stephanie just said releasing traumatic events, trying to think clearly and make better choices, releasing psychotic energies. Yes, and that very much has been showing up for multiple people. That's how fragmenting that could potentially have been. So somebody were really getting the intensity of that. Some people were noticing less intense situations, and some people were noticing that those energies in that matrix were affecting their family, but in slightly different ways, although still quite severe, but in slightly different ways. And disconnecting from addiction, from drugs, alcohol, all addictions, inviting peace and love, reprogramming love, yes, into our hearts. Everyone has addiction. Everyone does. Some of them are more outward. Some of them are more in your face. Some of them are more well-known. But essentially everyone has some type of addiction. You know, it's just bringing awareness to that. And we also have our own journeys around that, our own life's direction to go through that whole process. So all you can do is the best that you can do in this moment, but hook into that grounding energy, Stephanie, like really use it as much as you feel like you need to. You can also draw, you know, that kind of really heart-based energy that we have in our community. Draw on that, fill yourself with that, because it's there. It's available. That's what our community is all about, right? A lot of that love consciousness that comes from the heart. All right? Beautiful. No other questions? All said and done? Wonderful. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again for our next follow-up. And no doubt we'll connect over the next week or so, got to do with other things, right? Bye for now.